Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to IDEA, that is in-depth editorial analysis discussion. So guys, in this particular session, we take best of editorials from different newspapers. We cover these particular editorials to ensure content enrichment that is needed for better answer writing in UPSC examinations, and such content enrichment is also very important in effective essay writing, which often happens to be a low hanging fruit in the UPSC mains examination. Then the art of linking contemporary affairs with GS paper number 1, 2, 3 and 4 will also be focused in these sections. All the articles will be taken along with the detailed background and structured explanations. There will be a proper structured headings under which the topics will be discussed. Art of exam presentation and multidimensionality. Every topic will be discussed in maximum possible dimensions that we can cover. Now, in today's discussion, we are going to cover four important different sources. First, we are going to cover the Hindu business line. Now, the editorial that we have picked up from here is huge potential in our new FTAs. Now, this particular article will be important for GS paper number 2, agreements affecting Indian interest, and there can be some utility in GS 3 also of this particular topic. The next topic we have taken from the Mint newspaper, and the topic is it's time to consider a wealth tax that may lessen India's inequality. And this topic will be important for GS paper number 3, mobilization of resources. Then third topic that we have taken is from Hindustan Times, at G20 meet showcase India's social sector, which will be important for GS paper number 2, development process and development industry. And then guys, the fourth topic we have taken is from the Print, and I told you in the previous class also, the down to earth economic political weekly, the Print, sometimes they write some very good and excellent articles on the topics that have been prescribed in our examination. So today we are going to take Japan's new security strategy to counter China is a lesson for India. Now this particular topic, this particular editorial will be important for GS paper number 2, effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries and on India's interest. So these are the editorials that we are going to discuss, the four editorials. Now, before moving on guys, I would like to briefly tell you about the Unacademy UPSC CSE GS courses, where you why you should join Unacademy, because there are multiple reasons. Number one, you get the widest choice of educators, flexibility to change your course, unlimited view on lectures so that you can learn at your own pace, dedicated doubt solving sessions, printed comprehensive notes, end-to-end preparation which will cater to all the stages of exam, live mentorship and daily answer writing. So now the Resolve 2023 offer of Unacademy is going on, where you can avail 23% discounts, and these discounts are applicable across the Plus and Iconic courses. Fine, you can avail the 23% discount by using the code Sahil29. So by using code Sahil29 you can avail these discounts. Now, moving on guys, so Unacademy has launched the Raftar batch, which will be a bilingual English batch, and the batch is going to start from tomorrow, that is January 5th. And then there is Aramba batch, which is also a English batch oriented towards prelims 2024, and this batch is going to start from 12th of January. You can enroll in either of these batches, and you can enroll in all these courses at 0% EMI. Okay, you can contact at this number. My team will be connected with you and they will guide you through the bare minimum formalities that are there. So guys, let's discuss with the first article today, huge potential in our FTAs, from the Business Line newspaper. Now, basically guys, understand this particular thing, that first of all, what we understand by free trade agreement. So basically guys, when we talk about the different countries, they often sign the free trade agreements with each other, in which they will reduce the tariffs, they will reduce the duties on the goods coming from each other's country, they will reduce the non-tariff barriers also. There are two type of barriers, tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers. The tariff barrier is the custom duty, anti-dumping duty which you have imposed. Non-tariff barriers is that sometimes you impose very high standard for certain goods if they want to come in your country, if they want to be imported in your country. So very high technical standards, okay, high, very high food standards often, they are the non-tariff barriers. So all the tariff and non-tariff barriers are to be reduced, and through the free trade agreements such reductions are done. Now these free trade agreements are specific from country to country. They can cover goods, they can cover services, they can cover investments. So that will be left over to that particular FTA that is going to be there. Now over the years, guys, countries are signing more and more FTA. Now basically, guys, there is a logic of signing these FTAs also. So basically it has been provided that as we have seen the two world wars, in 20th century, and a lot of discussions and a lot of destruction happened in World War I and World War II. So it was suggested that if there will be more economic cooperation between the countries, then by that economic cooperations, the countries will not go on war. Why? Because guys, if any war will broke out, the war will become very costly, because during the time of the war, the trade will be disrupted. Now you see this particular thing, Russia-Ukraine war is going on, and because of that particular thing, the trade has disrupted to a very great degree. Okay, and economies of both Russia and Ukraine are getting impacted, and even the economies of the other neighboring countries are also getting impacted. So after the world wars, it was said that more economic cooperation will make wars more costly, and as the war will become more costly, fine, what will happen, the countries will try to avoid the wars. So now guys, this is a very kind of an interesting kind of a viewpoint that we can take, that strategic dimension of FTAs is also there. Okay, now it has been provided that such kind of a thing has happened. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that this particular thinking has been reversed by recent geopolitical developments that have happened. Now certain countries, they are weaponizing their trade. Certain countries are weaponizing their trade, which is leading to the formation of the new economic blocks around the world. For example, when we talk about the China has often been accused that they have weaponized their trade. For example, there are many critical components in the modern industry that China manufactures. For example, when we talk about, guys, the semiconductor. In semiconductors, China have a lot of capability. In rare earth metals, in when we talk about the rare earth metals, in rare earth metals also the China has a lot of capability. So China knows this thing, that the entire world is dependent on these critical components, and China is using that particular dependence for their own advantage. This is something, the problem that has come. Now this particular thing, guys, actually had opened up an opportunity for India. How it has opened up the opportunity for India? Basically, now guys, India has an opportunity that it can become a new player in global supply chain. What has happened? The world countries realized that they have become too much dependent on China during the COVID-19 pandemic, and now the different countries have started decoupling exercise. They have started decoupling, and in this decoupling, the countries, other countries, big corporates, they are following China plus one strategy, under which they want that completely they should not be dependent on China. Apart from China, there should be some other player in the supply chain which should also be used, and here India can become the new player in the global supply chains. Now in this particular direction, guys, India has already started to reap this particular advantage, and we have become a major manufacturer in mobile phone already. Now first of all, I want to show you some data with respect to the growth in the mobile phone manufacturing that has happened. Now first of all, India, guys, was an importer for mobile phones, okay, and exports were negligible. But today when we talk about the mobile phones, okay, the exports have increased with a lot of in lot of quantity. Today, Apple's contract manufacturers, for example, the Foxconn, Wistron, Pegatron. Now, who are these contract manufacturers? See this thing, Apple designs the iPhone, but actual manufacturing of that iPhone is given to these manufacturers such as the Foxconn, Wistron, and Pegatron. They do that thing. Okay. Then apart from these, Samsung, all of them have established their manufacturing facilities in India, and India is becoming a major mobile phone exporting hub. If we see the data, guys, here we find this particular thing, that so much mobile phone exports have happened progressively. It has increased over the years. Now First of all, you also need to understand that what government initiative or scheme has helped in increase of such kind of an export. It is majorly because of the production linked incentive scheme that has come. Now, what is the production linked incentive scheme, guys? When we talk about the production linked incentive scheme, it was announced by the government in 2020 to boost the country's manufacturing sector. Now, this particular scheme has targeted 14 key sectors in which $27 billion worth of incentive will be given. For example, guys, what this production linked scheme is, so manufacturers will be given 2 to 6% of incentives, 2 to 6% of incentives over their incremental sales, over their incremental sale. What it means, I'll explain you with the help of an example. Suppose Foxconn, or let's say Wistron. Suppose Wistron is manufacturing the mobile phone, and on mobile phone manufacturing, production linked incentive scheme is applicable. Let's say last year Wistron has made a sale of 1000 crore rupee. This year, let's say the Wistron has made the sale of 5000 crore rupees. So difference, additional incremental sale of 4000 crore rupees that is there. On this incremental sale, 2 to 6% of incentive will be given under this production linked incentive scheme, and it targets the 14 sectors. By this particular thing, the manufacturing of mobile phones have got a kind of a boost in India. So the schemes such as the PLI for semiconductor, government had come out with one more scheme, that is the DLI, design linked incentive schemes. For such kind of a schemes, we got a lot of benefit. Now, guys, you need to understand, we also need to have trade agreements. We also need to have FTAs, free trade agreement, because you manufacture a mobile phone, but where you will sell that mobile phone? Domestic market is limited. So therefore, we need to sell them in the global markets. And to sell them in global markets, we need to have trade agreements with the other countries. But as of now, we have not leveraged too much on these trade agreements. So there are the reasons. Now understand this particular thing. It has been provided that production linked incentive scheme, it will generate $520 billion of manufacturing output in the next 5 years. This much $520 billion worth of manufacturing output will be there. Now where you will sell this particular products? Fine, you need to go for exports. Majority of these particular products need to be exported. Now when we talk about, guys, India's top export partners, USA, European Union, fine, West Asia, okay, these countries are the major export partners of India. But we don't have a free trade agreement with our 3 major export partners. And if we don't have free trade agreement with them, how we will basically the point is that our exports will always be limited. Now I told you that when a country signs a free trade agreement, it reduces the tariff barriers and it reduces the non-tariff barriers. By that particular thing, the ease of trade between the two countries increases. But we don't have the FTA, so the exports will not be that much be increased. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that historically we have seen this particular thing. Labor intensive industries are the ones where more number of laborers are needed. So labor intensive industries such as the textiles, leathers, India's industries were not able to compete in the global market. Fine, they were not able to compete in the global market. Now the basically it is coming is that India, but now India has a specific kind of an advantage, that is the labor cost arbitrage. Now see this particular thing. In the past, the labor cost in China was very much less. Fine, but now what is happening, the labor cost in China is increasing, but the labor cost in India is still lower. So we can take this particular advantage, as the labor cost in China is increasing and India is lower. That labor cost advantage can provide benefit to India. But guys, still there are many other players also that has come in this particular direction. For example, Bangladesh, their labor cost is also very much low. Bangladesh, Vietnam, their labor cost is low, and they also have a competence in manufacturing of these textiles and leathers, and they are exporting their product. Now apart from that, they also get one more advantage. What advantage they have? For example, Bangladesh and Vietnam, they get preferential tariff rates 10% lower than Indian exports. Is it clear or not? So just a minute, guys. Yes. So basically, it has been provided that the tariff rates. Now, these countries such as the Bangladesh, Vietnam, what they have done, they have signed the free trade agreements with almost all the countries in Europe. So therefore, when their products are reaching their markets, their tariff rates are 10% less than India's tariff rates. Why India's tariff rates are high? Because we have not signed free trade agreement with the countries to whom we are exporting. So because of that particular thing, guys, that what has happened, outflow of investments is happening from India. The FDI that came in India for manufacturing of clothes and textiles, this manufacturing is now going to Bangladesh, Vietnam, and all such kind of countries. So guys, it has been provided that if we sign FTA with countries with the blocks such as the European Union, what will happen? India will also get the benefit of less tariffs, and by that particular thing, we can export our low-end manufactured products such as the clothes and the shoes and all such kind of things to these countries, and it will lead to massive job creation as well. Okay, so therefore India needs to sign the FTA. Now, already I have told you this particular thing, that as COVID-19 outbreak started and as the lockdown was announced, okay, what happened? The risks in the global supply chains, it got exposed. Fine, the countries realized that how deep they got dependent on China. So over reliance on China is there. So therefore, the single geography, okay, for single geographical over reliance needs to be reduced, and the countries have come out with the China plus one strategy where they are expanding. And in this capacity, India can be a meaningful partner. India can be a meaningful partner. Moreover, by signing FTAs with the European Union, okay, what will happen? India will be able to give signal that there is a stable trade regime. Moreover, it will also mean that the India means business. India means business. And in the long run, the investments that is leaving China, okay, these investments can come in India and can strengthen the manufacturing sector of India. Is it clear or not? The next thing that is coming here is that, guys, basically, if we sign the free trade agreements, and by that particular thing, what will happen? India's exports will increase. And if India's exports will increase, the high current account deficit in India that is there, it will also come down. Now, what is current account deficit? Basically, guys, when a country is exporting less, but is importing more, then what will happen? The country will develop a current account deficit. Now, when we talk about India, guys, India is a major importer of a crude oil. India is a major importer of crude oil. 82% of our oil demands are met by imports. So this is here we have to give the forex. So therefore, only way to reduce our current account deficit is by increasing the exports, and by signing the FTAs, what will happen? India's export will increase and current account deficit will come down. This year it is expected that India's current account deficit will be around 3%. Okay, and trade imbalance with the China is huge. So therefore, it is provided. Now, FTAs with the like-minded countries will also redirect import of certain products from China towards more friendly nations. So today, guys, we are dependent a lot on China, both in import as well as export. So if we sign FTAs, we diversify our partners. In the long run, it will impact India. Okay, fine. Then the next thing is that we need to integrate in the new global supply chain order. Now see this particular thing, guys. USA is trying to attempt to reestablish critical supply chains within its borders within the USA. Europe is developing new energy sources and markets to reduce the reliance from Russia. Europe wants to reduce the reliance from Russia. USA wants to reduce the reliance from China. Moreover, the supply chains of the developed Asian countries are decoupling from the China. Asian countries also, for example, you have South Korea, Japan. Now, Japan is largely dependent on China. They are also decoupling from China. So there are a lot of possibilities, a lot of low-hanging fruits that are there, which India can leverage. Okay, so all these particular factors will rewrite the future of supply chains. Is it clear or not? And we need to sign the FTA with the friendly nations. Now, guys, the article is saying this thing, that we need not to understand that the trade is a zero-sum game. Okay, we need not to understand that the trade is zero-sum game. Now, what is zero-sum game? It means that the power is limited. It means that the power is limited. Okay, it means that the gain gain can only be for one party. Okay, we have seen this particular thing. Somebody's gain is somebody's loss. Fine. According to zero sum game, win-win situation cannot be there. Both cannot win. If one has to win, other has to lose. This is the mindset that had plagued India. We have seen trade as a zero sum game. Most Indian researchers focus on trade balance as a single variable. Okay, if we were able to export more, FTA is successful. However, sometimes what happens, we sign FTA and in the end process, we end up importing their goods more. So just a trade balance should not be one parameter in this particular direction. It has been provided as signing of FTAs should be complementary and should be accompanied with the proper structural and domestic reforms. Our previous FTAs was not accompanied with the reforms. Only reduction of taxes was there. Policy was missing. We need to understand. We need to work on that particular dimension also. Now, it has been provided that already production linked incentive scheme has come by which will enhance the manufacturing in India. Labor reforms have come in India. We have come out with the logistic policy. So India today is well positioned to enhance manufacturing sector, and in that capacity finding more and more partners the only thing that we have to do. Moreover, recently already India had signed FTA with United Arab Emirates, UAE. It has signed FTA with Australia. So as this particular FTAs has been culminated, it shows that India is serious on signing these FTAs and India can capitalize on its global trends. Fine. So this is about that particular article. I hope you have understood it, and now we'll move to next article. Okay. Now moving on. Meanwhile, guys, if you have any doubt, you may please write your doubt. I will answer your doubt here. Yes, guys, any doubt? If you have, please, you may write it. Fine, moving on. So next article, guys, we have taken from Mint newspaper, and the article reads, it's time to consider a wealth tax that may lessen Indian inequality. Time to consider a wealth tax. Guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about tax is an important tool which plays multiple roles. Tax is important for sponsoring the government's developmental activities. So government's developmental activities depend on the effective tax collection. Secondly, guys, the tax also helps in reducing inequality in society. Now what happens? Basically, when we follow the progressive tax, now progressive tax means that as your income will increase, the tax will increase. If you are earning 10 rupees, let's say we collect 10% tax. But if you are earning 100 rupees, let's say we collect 20% tax. So person earning 10 rupees, he will give 1 rupee tax. His income will become 9 rupees. And a person earning 100 rupees will give 20% tax. His income will become 80 rupees. Now, if you see, earlier inequality between them was 90 rupees. Earlier inequality was 90 rupees. But today here, now we see the inequality has just reduced to 71 rupees. So inequality of 90 rupees became just 71 rupees. Now the money that has been collected, it will be spent on all. Fine. It will be spent on majorly on poor, but in some capacity the benefit will be given to others also. So when we talk about taxation, it helps in sponsoring developmental activities. It helps in reducing inequality. And when we talk about efficient, effective and equitable public tax spending, it takes in account always the competing demands. Always it needs resources, and here the tax are going to help. So India definitely needs to widen its revenue collection. See, today we are dependent on tax, but that tax is not sufficient. So we need to explore, we need to find new avenues of the taxation. And in this context, it is important that we should discuss that whether the wealth tax can now be levied. Wealth tax can now be levied. Now, what are the examples of the wealth tax? Property tax, inheritance tax. Inheritance tax, for example, your grandfather had left 100 crore rupee property for you. 100 crore rupee property for you. So this 100 crore rupee property you got as inheritance. So on this particular inheritance tax can be applied. Gift tax, your friend gifted you Ferrari car. Okay. Capital gain tax. So guys, whenever property appreciates, for example, you bought a property at 1 lakh rupees. Okay, and after 15 years, or let's say after 20 years, you are selling this 1 lakh property in 1 crore rupee. So 99 lakh rupee is your capital gain. and on that capital gain, tax will be imposed. So when we talk about the nature of wealth tax is a direct tax. It is a direct tax. Okay. It is not indirect tax like the goods and services tax, value added tax. They are the indirect taxes, but the wealth tax is a they are the GST is an indirect tax, but wealth tax is a direct tax. Okay. Now, basically, why we need to impose such wealth tax? We have seen that over the years there is a lot of accumulation of wealth that has happened in few hands. There is a small section of people that have large number of economic assets. Okay, they have large number of property and they are not properly taxed. Now, in this particular capacity, guys, we have some of the data also. Okay, for example, here I can show you the data. It is provided that 10% of the population in India owns around 65% of the total wealth. Fine. Bottom 10% owns only 6% of wealth. Who gives this data? The data is given by the World Inequality Database 2022. And according to the Oxfam report, it has been provided that India's richest people's income got doubled during the time of pandemic. Is it clear or not? So this particular thing shows that there are a wealthy class of people who had accumulated a lot of wealth, but taxes have not been imposed on them. Okay. Moreover, when we talk about the nature of wealth, guys, understand this particular thing. Wealth is different from income. Wealth is different from income. Income has a lot to do with your capabilities, with your competence, but wealth is more about your background. So if you are born, if you are lucky, you were born in a one particular type of a family, and if your ancestors have worked some had worked hard, you will get the wealth. So income is attribute of your education, merit or effort, but not necessarily the case with the wealth. Is it clear or not? So the privileged class of India needs to be adequately taxed. Moreover, despite grave financial and economic challenges, okay, obviously implementing it is going to be very big problem. Okay, despite despite facing the grave financial and economic challenges, India has no other means to convert this particular wealth into productive resource. Now, if government taxes this particular wealth and derives money out of that, it can help at multiple fronts. For example, that money can be spent in effective and productive activities, which will lead to generation of employment. Okay. Now that employment generation that will happen, it can push up the income of multitudes. Okay, and ultimately the demand of the goods will increase. Okay, so when people's income will increase, they will demand goods, and when they will demand goods, obviously for that supply has to be increased, and for the supply, investment will be done for the expansion of industries, etc., and ultimately it will help the Indian economy. Now, when we talk about the wealthy know best how to invest. Fine. Now, many number of times it is said that wealthy know how to invest. But in this particular definition, do we have adequate evidence? Now, understand this particular thing. Government in the past has successively reduced the corporate tax. Okay, corporate tax have been reduced from 30% to just 22% in 2019 and 20, and it was expected that these corporates, wealthy corporates, will invest the money in economy because their taxes have been reduced. But private investment has not increased in India. Okay, there are many other reasons also. For example, demand is not there, economic revival, okay, economic prospects are not that much strong. There are many such kind of reasons, but still the investment has not increased. So private people, if they have more and more wealth, they will invest, and by that investment economic activities will improve. That will happen. It is not a guarantee. Clear? So therefore, guys, it has been provided that at the same time, it is not only the investment. Okay, basically it is not only the investment that is important, but where a money is being invested, that is also important. So if government imposes the wealth tax, and by that wealth tax government collects the money, government can create the productive jobs with that particular money. Is it clear or not? We have seen this particular thing. That number one, there are the high unemployment rates. Let me change the pen. So number one, we see that there are the high unemployment rates that are prevailing. Then there are the global recession also that might come, and because of that layoffs will increase. More people will be removed from their jobs. So already there is high joblessness. Then the joblessness will further increase. And moreover, in this particular definition, guys, we have seen that already jobless growth is going on in India. So therefore, government needs to create we need to produce the productive jobs by adequate financing which it can get by imposing wealth tax. Now, it has been provided that no economy, it has been provided that no economy in the world can afford to have unemployed youth. Because guys, when we talk about, when we have the unemployed youth, they will have they have their own anxieties. It will lead to social crimes. Is it clear or not? Secondly, if there is a youth who are unemployed, they will obviously not be contributing in economic activity, and the demographic dividend that we always say is a strength of India, that demographic dividend advantage will never come to India. Now India needs to shift its fiscal policy, and we need to ensure that our fiscal policy, the expenditure patterns of India are such that it creates employment opportunities, it drives the demand for products made by the small and medium level producers such as the MSME industries, it pushes up the growth, and that is something that is needed. Now, for such kind of a thing, what we need public investment. We need government to invest money. Number one, government need to invest money so that it can increase the capabilities of these small actors, the people working in agriculture, manufacturing and service, their capabilities to be enhanced, and for enhancing their capabilities, public investment is needed. Secondly, guys, we need to provide essential public services are needed to be provided to youth. For example, they need to be given employment opportunities, they need to be given skill, they need to be given vocation development. All such kind of things are needed, and for that you need to do expenditure. Now, it has been provided that investment is needed, and how that money will come? That money can come from the wealth tax. This particular money can come from the wealth tax. Already capital gain tax, which is a type of wealth tax, exists in India, but guys, it only applies on the transactions. Okay, what it means? It means, suppose I brought a property for 1 lakh rupees, and in 20 years its value increased to, let's say, 10 lakh. Now 9 lakh wealth appreciation has happened. Now, when government will get the capital gain tax? Only when the transaction will happen. Now obviously the transaction will happen after 20 years, 30 years. So till then government will not get any advantage of that. Then India expressed scrapped the state duty in 1985. Inheritance tax is not there. Many exemptions are there in all these taxes. So therefore, at the end of the day, we are not giving a lot of benefit. Many of the Latin America countries, such as the Argentina, Peru, Bolivia, they have introduced a progressive annual wealth tax. Annual wealth tax, where annually the wealth appreciation that has happened. Suppose last year your wealth was 100 crore rupees. Now your wealth is 500 crore rupees. So the appreciation of wealth of 400 crore that has happened, on that the wealth tax will be imposed. Moreover, solidarity tax. Solidarity tax in the times of COVID has also been imposed. Solidarity is to help the people. In India also, we can bring such kind of a taxes which will bring more money for public investment. This is a right time that such progressive wealth tax needs to be introduced in India, which is going to help in generating additional revenue. It will also help in reducing the inequalities that are there. So this is all, guys, about this particular article. And now we'll take the next article from Hindustan Times. The article reads that G20 meet, India should showcase its social sector. Now, so basically, guys, you might already be knowing this thing, that India has assumed the presidency of G20 for the year 2023. And as India has assumed the presidency of G20, it can be a very good opportunity for India to showcase its capabilities, to showcase the excellent work that it has done for in the social sector. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that as we talk about the India's progress now, India is working a lot in terms of achieving sustainable developmental goals. When we talk about the SDGs, there are 17 sustainable developmental goals, and to achieve these 17 sustainable developmental goals, what has happened? India has done a lot of work in this particular direction. Now a question comes that what is the social sector? What comes in the social sector? So social sector will include social innovators. Many inventors, innovators are there who had done some really good inventions for public purpose. Okay, then there are social entrepreneurs. There are the cooperatives. Okay, for example, we have the cooperatives such as Amul, etc. Self-help groups are there, which are helping in job creation, which are helping in generating the economic opportunities for the people. So this is India's social sector, and this social sector has helped India a lot in development of the people living in rural areas, in reduction of poverty. They have helped a lot. Now, basically, guys, it is being provided that this social sector has pioneered distinct business model, had focused on equity, where people across different caste, different social backgrounds, different religion, all have been helped. They have focused on societal welfare, environmental welfare. Now, these players, the social sector, it is not like the corporate sector, which only is concerned about profit. They have helped in bringing equity. They focused on societal, environmental benefit. These organizations, they have social objectives. They have inclusive governance models. They work with groups and face different genders, race, ability. Okay, so point is that they have some good track record in bringing social justice. Okay, now when we talk about the social sector in India, it is under recognized. It is under recognized. Now, see this particular thing. When we talk about the self-help groups, social entrepreneurs, they are doing some very good work for poverty reduction. They are doing some very good work for the employment generation. But the point is that their contribution to social economy, okay, the contribution that they have done to social economy, the jobs that they have generated, the capabilities that they have given to the people, their contribution, fine, is in terms of GDP, fine, it is not recognized. We don't appreciate that particular contribution. They often work on shoestring budgets. It means that they don't have even the resources, but still they work with the seva bhav, a sense of service. Still they work for the sense of service. The point is that we have not recognized their effort, and now it is a time that government needs to support. Is it clear? Government needs to support. Now see this particular thing. India has a fertile ground for social innovations. Okay, social innovations, and these social innovations that we have brought, it needs to be awarded. Okay, and therefore the support needs to be given. Now, many government initiatives such as the Skill India Mission, Digital India Mission, they have provided these social entrepreneurs, multiple avenues which they can use. Now the time has come that even more support is to be given to them. For example, they should be provided international platforms on which they can put forward that how they have worked for the public welfare. Okay, now India has taken up the G20 presidency, and in the G20 presidency we can push these social entrepreneurs, we can push these social entrepreneurs. Now they can be they can be helped as how they can use technology for their innovation. Okay, so how they can use the technology, how they can use the digital applications for that particular thing, they can be helped. Now, as guys, India is leading the presidency of the G20. Okay, at the international platforms they can be showcased. Okay, now guys, here there is basically it has been provided that there has been provided this particular thing that basically there are these social entrepreneurs that we have, these social entrepreneurs that we have already, they are working for the welfare and development of people at the grassroots already. At the same time, there is the idea of CSR. There is the idea of CSR. Now what is the idea of CSR? Now see, we will mix both of them. Now CSR, corporate social responsibility, is provided in section 135 of the Companies Act, where it is provided that the 2% of average profit a company has to invest as a CSR expenditure. Now all the corporates are not eligible. Okay, so there is a specific condition. For example, if revenue, if turnover is 1000 crore or more, if net worth of a company is 500 crore or more, or if the profit is 5 crore or more, then 2% of the profit is to be spent in the CSR. Okay, and now this corporate social responsibility, the money will be spent for women's education, will be spent for eradication of poverty, certain disease. Okay, so corporates have to spend money in the CSR. Now they can take the help of the social entrepreneurs, and they can choose them as business partners. They can choose them as business partners, and they will provide innovative market-based solutions which can be used in the CSR. Okay, they can bring equal value to the business. Okay, by this by the activities of these social entrepreneurs, they can bring the good name and the value will come. Okay. Moreover, these social entrepreneurs, they have also always focused on women-led development, women-led development. So these social entrepreneurs, they again can ensure the women development, how the women entrepreneurs can be promoted, how they can be given opportunities. All these particular things can be emphasized in this particular direction. Okay. So in this particular direction, guys, government needs to help them. Now, they are basically with these social entrepreneurs, they are also the strategists in the area they work. They are also, they have done the advocacy, for example, they help the government in framing the scheme. Okay, they help in making the informed decision. This is something that can be done. Moreover, social entrepreneurs, they can act as the basically role models. They can act as a role models and can basically can sensitize the young generation today, that how they can also become the part of a bigger picture. Okay, this is something that has been provided. Now guys, here in this particular article, there is one example that has been given, that is the Schwab Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship, which is a sister organization of World Economic Forum. Okay, so the Schwab Foundation, it is working with Jubilant Bhartiya Foundation, and by this particular thing, what they are doing, they are recognizing the social entrepreneurs. They are giving the platform, they are giving the platform to the social entrepreneurs, and annual social entrepreneurs entrepreneur of the India award is also being given. So basically, these kind of platforms can be used to showcase the social sectors. Okay, they, by that particular thing, they will get the global exposure. Recently, the Schwab Foundation has also organized the India Learning Journey. In this particular journey, 35 social entrepreneurs from the world, including the G20 countries, are being showcased. So therefore, in this particular direction, guys, what India can do? India can also identify its women 20 group, startup 20 group, civil 20 group, youth 20 group, B20, business 20. Okay, social entrepreneurship. Okay, so we need to give them exposure at the global stage. And as India is leading G20 now, it can be an important showcase of by India. Now moving to the next article. So this particular article, guys, we have taken from the print, and the article is Japan's new security strategy to counter China is lesson for India. Okay, so what lesson can be taken from Japan's strategic counter strategy? Now, basically, guys, if I give you a little bit of a background, understand this particular thing. Japan participated in World War II from the side of Germany. Now, after this particular World War II, what happened? Japan was provided that Japan has to adopt a pacifist constitution. Now, what is a pacifist constitution? Pacifist constitution means that the Japan will not spend too much in military expenditure. Japan will not enhance its defensive offensive capabilities. So Japan was expected not to spend too much in offensive capabilities. Defense budget will be kept under control. But recently, Japan has changed their security strategy, and Japan has recently announced a turnaround in the traditional policy that I told you, the pacifist policy. They have provided that now now that Japan will junk its old policy of keeping its military budget below 1% of the GDP. So earlier, the military budget of Japan cannot exceed more than 1%, but now they will scrap it out, and now they will develop the military capabilities to defeat threats from China and North Korea. Okay, so recently, guys, there was also a kind of a standoff that happened between North Korea and Japan. Okay, so it is recognizing the adversities in form of North Korea and China, and for that thing, they will enhance their budget capabilities. Now, in this particular direction, guys, it has been provided that Asian countries, fine, when we talk about some of the Asian countries, they are not threatened by the China. Okay, but Japan's dramatic turnaround that has happened, it very strongly suggests that the Japan is thinking the opposite. Okay, it has been provided that when we talk about the Japan, traditionally I told you that they have spent very much limited on the defense budget. Okay, so it was provided that it has been touted as evidence of the lack of China balancing, because Japan did not spend a lot on the military budget. China did not got balanced. Now, basically, the national security strategy has been launched, which says that China's current external stance, military activities, and other activities have become a matter of serious concerns for Japan. Now, Japan is recognizing this particular thing. Now, Japan is recognizing this particular thing. And this national security strategy is something that India can also take lesson from. What lesson India can take from it? Okay. So, India can take very important lesson. Number one, guys, when we talk about India, Japan has come out with the security strategy, and they have very clearly provided that they will increase the spending on the defense capabilities. But India need to come with their own national security strategy also. India need to outline the challenges that India is facing, the response that India will give, the financial resources that India will devote. Now, the last such kind of a document that was there was produced by the group of, it was the group of ministers report on national security. Now, group of ministers report on national security was prepared, which was a kind of a strategy paper, but it is already 20-year-old. Okay, so we need to have updated national security strategy as Japan has brought. Now, basically, guys, when we talk about the China is often criticized that they don't maintain transparency. They have a lot of opaqueness. But even China, from time to time, publishes the white papers on defense. And in these white papers on defense, China specifically provides that what is their public strategy with respect to the defense purposes. That is something that has happened. Okay. Now, it is provided, it is very much important to coordinate actions within different departments of the government. So Ministry of External Affairs, we have the Ministry of Defense. Okay, so within them, the different departments, they need to negotiate, they need to discuss this particular matter, they need to coordinate, and broad strategic outline needs to be prepared. Is it clear or not? Now, it has been provided that if we come out with our national security strategy as Japan has done, it lead to certain problems. It could create issues with potential adversaries. Okay. For example, guys, Japan's strategy document has been criticized by China, Russia, North Korea. Now, if India will come out with the national security strategy, it could be criticized by China, by Pakistan, okay, and many such other kind of adversaries. So it might reduce the India's strategic flexibility. But that particular thing can be overcome. Now, basically, guys, it has been provided that the Japanese strategy paper shows that how creative writing can be used. Now, when we talk about the creative writing, we should come out with a national strategy, but should not use very strong words directed towards one specific country or a group of countries. Okay. Now, understand this particular thing, that we need to use such kind of a creative writing. Okay. Indian bureaucracy is smart enough that it can do such kind of writing. Okay. But at the same time, guys, if India fears that we will come out with that national security strategy and some countries such as China will get irritated, then already we are the members of the quadrilateral security dialogue, and already China is anyhow criticizing India. So we should not fear that. But as we will come out with our national security strategy, we need to ensure that over dependence on USA should not be there. Now, guys, it has been provided that often it has been said that almost all the countries in the Asia, they are dependent on the USA for the support. Now, USA is trying to counter China, and in the region of Asia Pacific, China is the biggest threat that is there. So, all the countries are dependent on USA. Even under the quadrilateral security dialogue that is there, USA's over dependence is there. So we need to ensure that over dependence with the USA is not there. Then, in the past, whenever the alliances and the groupings have been made, there are the issues with that. For example, guys, there is a charge that American allies are free riding on the USA, particularly on the Japan. It has been provided that the Japan is free riding on the USA. Japan is using the USA for their own advantages, and this blame or this allegation has been there in the past as well. Okay, this is something that has happened. In case of Japan, its legacy issues of regional imperialism have been, it has been provided that there is a free riding that is happening. Now, at the same time, if we come out with a national security strategy, it is needed to be ensured that USA would not be able to disproportionately shoulder the burden of balancing China. Only USA cannot balance the China. All the responsibility should not be imposed on USA. India needs to share the sufficient burden. If India will not share the sufficient burden, China will not get balanced. China will not get balanced. At the same time, India also need to, though India is coming out with a strategy document, but along with that, India also needed to invest in offensive retaliatory capability. How we can retaliate. Now, Japan is investing in cruise missiles, hypersonic missile. And as Russian war is going on, it has been seen that if a country is not having the retaliatory capability, deterrence capability, then the country is not secured in the long run. India is investing in conventional and dual use missiles. But as we talk about the present case, we need to see this particular thing. As we talk about the China, basically we need to have more longer range missiles when the China is concerned. We need to have more longer range of missiles. Okay. India also need to have missiles in more numbers, more quantity. So this is something that we need to focus. We need to bring the national security strategy, and along with that, all these particular things are also needed to be focused. So that is all, guys, about this particular article. I hope, guys, that you have understood it, and with this we come to an end to the today's news. We have come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis discussion. So that is all, guys. We'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, guys, please take care of yourselves, and you can download the PDF of this entire session from the Telegram channel Sahil Saini Unacademy. Link for Telegram channel has been given in description box here in the YouTube. And guys, if you have any doubt, you may ask your doubts. Okay. Meanwhile, a very good evening to all of you. Shunmuga, Sundari, Pooja, Priyanka, Sandeep, Kajal, Gaurinath, Venki, Nishant, Mahesh Bhai, Rajat. Sir, is it possible text format same as thing? Rajat, the PDF is being posted. You just see there, and it is an editable PDF. You can copy the text from there. Sir, but India spend a lot of money to defense. It will impact Indian economics. Yes, that is one concern that will come. Yes, Venki, that concern will come. But at the end of the day, national security, national interest is also very important. Okay. Okay, guys. So that is all about today. Thank you so much.